Hi everyone, Paul O'Sullivan here. It's been a while since I made a video because I had another stroke, believe it or not. So I've had two strokes in the last 17 months. So for anyone who hasn't actually watched any of my videos, so just to share with you, because I'm trying to raise awareness about different signs and symptoms of stroke before they present that are not what you'd normally hear about. So normally what you'd hear about is fast. So look for face, see is it drooping, arms, see if you can raise your two arms and keep them up there. And you might find with a stroke or the start of a stroke is that one of the arms will start dropping down like that. It's called drift. Um, Speech, is the person's speech slowed down or slurring, or are they able to repeat a sentence after you, a coherent sentence? And then T is time to act, ring an ambulance. But that's what you normally hear with fast. But to be honest with you, I think they should add be fast with that. And the B being check the person's behaviour. Are they kind of erratic, or are they looking confused or disorientated? Um, and balance, is their balance off? Are they able to keep their balance? And then with E, I'd say for eyes, just check for their eyes. Is one of them turned in? Does something look a bit strange with it? And then emotions, do they have a thing called emotional liability? Are they laughing inappropriately or crying suddenly? That's out of character. Look for these things. These are all signs of a possible stroke. So I'll just briefly go back and tell you about the stroke I had back in July 2024. And that presented again differently from the fast or the B fast as well. It started, I had just come back from the divorce courts. I'd done all the paperwork up. I had woke up that morning super stressed. I do a lot of stress and anxiety management, and I wasn't actually able to bring myself out of this stress. I was really stuck in fight and flight that particular day going in. I got in there and the case was deferred anyway, so there was no reason to be that stressed. But when I got back, I was talking to a family member who was really in a bit of a mental health distress, and suddenly, after about an hour and a half, I felt something click off in my head. And it was sudden, it was like a click, and it was like sudden fatigue and sudden nausea and just feeling unwell. That was the start of it, and that was on the Monday morning, the 15th of July. And then I went to bed, rested, got up, still didn't feel well. Got up, drove the car the next day, still didn't feel well, went back to bed. And then on the Wednesday, I was on the computer and I noticed that I started losing power in my left arm. I couldn't type properly. And of course, I went on and did the online shopping, make sure my family were, looked after just in case. And said, I'll just go to bed and have a rest, and lay in bed. And then gradually, my arm started completely going numb. And then by that evening, I was still there. I couldn't make a decision at that stage. I went into a thing called decision paralysis, the part of my brain that was affected. I knew I had to go to the hospital, but I couldn't bring myself to make a decision or call anyone to help. And my leg had gone numb. So I finally made the decision the next thing on the Thursday morning. So it happened on the Monday, and this is on the Thursday. I'm fully paralyzed on the left-hand side, couldn't even get out of bed to go to the bathroom. And that's when I actually went into the hospital, and I had a full stroke, and I was bedbound for a while, and then started working with the physios. I started doing everything I possibly could myself in between seeing them. Every time I would just try and move my arm, which was impossible at the start. But I started grabbing it with my right arm and moving it, in time to music and stuff like that, and forcing it to go around bottle tops and stuff like that. And it was hard. I'm not going to lie to you, it wasn't easy at all. But I've done an awful lot of work, and I actually got two hands working again. And they still have heaviness in them, but it works most of the time. When I get tired, I can't sustain it. I wouldn't be able to hold. It is strong, but it can't hold a lot of weight. It can let me down. So that's that. I got my leg working again as well. I started. Was in hospital for 3.5 weeks, and then I was in rehabilitation for 4.5 weeks. And obviously with their help and everything like that. And I did a lot of work when I was in the room by myself. I did a lot of work practicing, trying to get on a stick, trying to use the rollator and everything like that. So it was sheer hard work, and I did. I got myself walking again with the rollator, and I got myself walking with the stick. Not very, very far distances, but I did get a good bit of progress. And that's where I was last November when the second stroke hit. And I woke up on November the 10th, and I couldn't walk properly. I was on the stick, but I couldn't actually walk properly. I felt something was definitely off, and I tried to have a shower, and I ended up having to sit down in the shower and not being able to stand up. Like, I had got myself to the point that I could stand up in the shower, and had got the bathroom. I had applied for a grant last year and got the disability bathroom in and everything. So I was lucky there. I had all the rails in there, and I had the shower seat and everything. So I was able to actually shower, but I knew, and I got my son to call the ambulance that morning. But I just wanted to tell you the warning signs for that one. Because, with the first one, I didn't really have much notice. All I knew was that I was super stressed. I felt stressed. I felt my fight and flight was just, my nervous system was just locked into fight and flight. That was the first thing I was aware of with the first stroke. And as I say, the first preceding days. But with this one, it was a little bit different. 2 weeks before, on the bank holiday weekend here, I'm in Ireland here, so I think it might have been around the 27th of October or thereabouts. It was that bank holiday weekend, and I had been doing a little drawing, and I started to feel nauseous, and I don't feel nauseous very often. The only last time I'd felt that was with the stroke the previous year. I started feeling ill, and I said, I better get myself ready for bed. So I just got myself ready to get into bed, and I said, I'll lie down and see how I feel. And with that vertigo, I don't really suffer from vertigo. I've had one bout of it years ago for about 20 minutes, but that was it. It came and went, and nothing to talk about, really. This was different. This was like someone was spinning me around the room, and it came on, and I was lying in the bed, and if I stayed stock still, I didn't move left or right, I could just about keep it together. But if I moved slightly, everything started spinning again. If I closed my eyes, everything started spinning. It was horrible. And this went on for a couple of hours. So my son came in and checked in on me, and I said, I'm not feeling well, really. And they checked on the internet, and they said, no, nausea shouldn't, or vertigo, and that shouldn't last more than 20 minutes. After that, especially after a stroke, So we waited, and we called the ambulance, and the first responders came, and the ambulance came, and I was brought into hospital, and I was kept in for a few days. And they couldn't find the cause of the vertigo, so that was the bank holiday weekend. So they told me I would have to get an MRI to confirm. I got CT scans and everything, got blood tests done and everything like that. They couldn't find anything. They said it wasn't stroke related. And they said I'd have to get an MRI to confirm, because I have have aneurysms as well in my brain, So they wanted to just check it wasn't that. So they told me they would fast track me, and that if I stayed in hospital, I'd be waiting days in the hospital, and that I'd be better off going home. And they put me on fast track, and within a week I'd have the appointment. So of course I went home. Wasn't too happy about it, but I went home and checked in later in the week, and I wasn't even on a list for fast track MRI or anything. There was no mention of me at all, So I was going to follow it up on the following week. But then on the Friday of that week, then, again, I had another bout of nausea, and that was the Halloween week. That was Halloween, October the 31st, that was. I had got myself, I love dressing up for Halloween, love putting wigs on and everything, and I got myself dressed up, put my makeup on, and next thing I started feeling really ill again. So I had to whip the whole lot off again and lie down. And that passed, and I thought, okay, grand, And then the next morning I got up and I started getting weird feelings on my right hand side of my body. Now, my original stroke had been on the left, but this was all on the right. It was like someone pressing in, nerve compression. It's like someone pressing into my face and then taking the hand away. That's what it felt like. And then it started spreading down into my arm, my right arm, and down into my left leg, into my buttocks, into my ankle. And this was coming and going. And I didn't want to go back into hospital, to be honest with you, after being in the previous week, And again, my son said to me, no, you need to go in. I said, I know, I made a video myself. This is a warning sign that something up. And then with the vertigo the week before, So we called the ambulance again, and they didn't believe me. I said, look, I think it's a TIA or something stroke related. And they were saying, no. The first responder was saying to me, no, that numbness wouldn't present on the right side if you originally had your stroke on the left. But I didn't know enough about it. But I didn't think that was correct, I think because you can have a different TIA. So anyway, they brought me in. They didn't believe me, really, that there was anything wrong. And I felt like kind of an imposter. But anyway, I was brought back into hospital and stayed in again for another few days. And they didn't find the cause. They did an MRI. and they didn't find the cause. They said it wasn't stroke related, definitely not stroke related, they said, and they let me go, and I wasn't happy about it, you know. So I said, look, this is not normal for me. I know myself, my own normal, because I've been in good health. Besides from the stroke, I've been in pretty good health. Um, so I decided I'd book in with my GP to see if she would follow up on it. I thought maybe it could be compressed nerve in my spine or my neck or something. That, you know, none of that was investigated. I said there must be something. If it's not stroke related, it must be something, because it's a neurological event, you know. So anyway, I had booked in to go on the Monday, the 10th of November. I booked in to go with my doctor. And of course, I woke up that morning and I couldn't walk. I couldn't walk. I couldn't walk properly, you know. And I was very upset. And I knew I was having a stroke at that stage. And I told them. And the ambulance came and the first responders came and everything like that. But they weren't believing me. I was passing they do all these different tests like that to see if you've got arms and staying together. But mine was slightly drifting, you know. So it wasn't showing up. Like, you know, I think if I'd have left later, if I'd have stayed in the house longer, I would have ended up fully paralysed. That's the way I was feeling, you know. But as it was, I couldn't actually walk. And I had previously been quite, you know, confident on the stick. At this stage, I couldn't actually walk with a stick. I had to go and get my rollator. I never very rarely used my rollator around the house. Well, for the first stroke, after I got to a certain point in my rehabilitation, I was able to just use the stick. But this stroke affected me that I absolutely completely reliant on the rollator now. I'm not even on the stick now still. And this is January I'm making this, you know, so I'm still not back on the stick. I'm not, there's a horrible feeling in my head that you get after a stroke, and it's all over the place. Anyway, I was kept in hospital for 2 weeks. They didn't quite believe it was a stroke because, again, I've done a lot of rehabilitation. I was passing all their strength tests because I've done a massive amount of work. I'm very strong, but my body can't sustain it, and I can't walk properly, you know. I couldn't stand properly. I was very imbalanced in that, you know. But I'm going to make another video, which you might be interested in watching, about patient care. And there's some areas that definitely need addressing. The medical profession more. There's so many advertisements about fast and everything like that. But when it comes to, you go into a hospital and they're not recognised. When a patient says they had a stroke before and they think they're having another one, I think you should take them seriously, you know. But I was quite distressed actually with some of the experiences I had this time. I was quite surprised because they know me in the hospital because of the stroke, and I've been back and forth, and I've done a presentation there on stroke awareness. Last January, actually, I was invited to do a presentation as a patient, you know, about my experiences with stroke and all the different things that I've used, visualization and positive mindset, and actually, you know, goal setting and all those different things to actually get myself to where I was, you know. So I had actually been in the hospital, you know. But I'll talk about that in another video, you know. So, but I just wanted to make people aware of the different things that could possibly precede a stroke, and just to be aware, to watch out for that, and to call, even if they don't believe you. And I've heard stories of people not being believed as well. It's best to get yourself seen just in case, because if you're having a stroke, the longer you leave it, the more dangerous it is. The brain cells start dying off and everything like that. So it can be quite dangerous. So it's better to actually, sorry, I have something coming up on my screen there, which I don't want coming up on my screen. So it's better to get checked early and to be sure, you know. And even at that, with my experience, 3 visits to the hospital, and finally when I finally got the MRI on the second day, and they confirmed I actually had a stroke, you know. So anyway, that's all I want to say in this video. I'm keeping well. I managed to get myself walking again. It's been rough the last 2 months. I was extremely tired with this one. Cognitive, I was tired of the other one as well, but this one just seemed to have hit me differently. I didn't go into rehabilitation. I came straight home because I had everything set up here for me, and it's quieter. I couldn't sleep in the hospital. I was desperate. So I thought I'd heal better at home. And I came back, and I was doing exercise every day, 20 minutes every day after the first stroke. I couldn't even get back into them. I was so exhausted, you know. So I'm only starting to get back into them now. But today now I'm after being out for a walk with the rollator, and I got about 3,000 steps in. And about 2 days ago, I got 3,500 steps. So like I'm just chipping away. It sent me back. This stroke sent me back about a year in my recovery for walking, and it affected my left side again. Luckily, a little bit on the right side was affected as well, but not. I've got that all back now. But mostly the left side affected, but mostly the leg now at this stage. Not so much the arm, although that was weak at the start. So I'm getting myself there. I'm determined. I'm not letting this beat me. This is the second time around. So we'll see how I get on. I'll keep you posted anyway. So I hope these videos are helpful and interesting to you. Thank you for your likes and your shares. And I'm wishing you all a very, very blessed day. Take care. Bye.